Hi guys, this is Astro Park, and today I'm with Irfan and Wikram from Hypersign, founders of Hypersign. Nice to have you here.
Hello. Thanks, Daniel. Hi. Thanks for inviting us. Thanks for hosting us. Really excited to be here.
And today we are going to have an Hama with these two nice guys, and we will talk about Hypersign a little bit, so to know the project really better. So, where did the Hypersign idea came from originally, guys? So the history behind it. Can you tell us something?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, there are multiple stories. I think I can give you a few, and Vikram can also explain a little bit more. So we were so essentially the whole idea for Hypersign was we were actually working. A lot of you don't know this, that we have been building Hypersign since 2018, and we were in fact actually working on an NFT type application back in the day, and even before NFT was NFT. And because both Vikram and me are musicians and we create content, and we wanted to figure out a way of how to manage content, how to manage digital content. We were thinking of working with NFTs, but we basically stumbled across a problem where we thought that even if we build this application, how will people access? You will have a mass adoption problem because there is so much discrepancy between Web 2.0, Web 3.0. And how do you boost that? How do you simplify that? So basically, taking that as the first step, that was the first challenge that we faced. That should we actually progress with NFT, or should we actually try to solve this problem that we're going to have, that we know that we're going to have adoption problems, right?
Yeah.
Now, personally, I come from the identity and access management space. I am ex-Thales. So I've been working for companies that have been working with what is called identity and access management, IAM. So usually when people say identity, they think about KYC and so on.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that IAM is a subsect of cybersecurity, where we talk about things like digital signatures, encryption, public key encryption, and we talk about how identities, so people like you and me, we use our identity, so our username and password, which is an extension of our digital identity, and how we use that to log in and log out, how we access different websites, how we buy things online. For everything, identity is needed, right? So that is basically what we deal with. So we basically thought that this is a very good problem to solve. I think we should focus on this. Wikram has some more stories of his own where he also explains why we started to build Hypersign. Vicky, you want to talk about it?
Okay, sure. I will be very short and precise. Honestly, back then when we saw that the whole authentication mechanism in Web 3.0 is going to be challenging for users coming from Web 2.0. But when we actually started researching around the tech, involved in how this blockchain authenticate users and what are the different ways, we figured out that there are multiple challenges in current Web 2.0, applications which are being issued by Web 3.0, but we need to bring a bridge which can actually connect both the places. Web 3.0 is completely different. It's sovereign, like you have your own identity and you are logging through that. And Web 2.0 is based on a siloed system wherein one organization or a website that controls all our identity. So how do we bring a solution which could basically bridge it, so slowly move people from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0? And if we build this solution, what value proposition we need to give to current applications or website owners, that they would feel they should feel that, okay, I should be moving from my current implementation of identity system to something what is coming in future. So we brainstormed more on that, and the problem that we figured out, one of the biggest problem in the world is password problem, right?
Yeah.
And with public keys, we solved this private key and public key. We solved this problem very nicely. And now with more people coming on board to internet using a mobile application, holding and managing your private keys have become much more easier. That in India, actually, there is an application to make payments. People make payments using QR code. That
I guess we lost Wikram, but his point was pretty clear. So probably we will recover him quite soon. In the meanwhile,
Quite soon.
hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah, let's continue in the meanwhile.
Yeah,
so the problem you are solving is pretty clear. So how you want to manage the signing, so the moving towards Web 3.0.
Yeah.
Very, very challenging. And what challenges are coming for your next? The security.
Yeah, so that's a good question, because we have a range of problems, right? So we have, as you rightly said, we have security problems, we have technical problems, we have commercial problems, we have adoption problems. So it's basically when you are bringing in such a major paradigm shift to a new way of thinking, to a new way of living, to a new way of engaging, to a new way of working and playing with each other, obviously you will have these kind of challenges, right? I will try to basically touch upon all the points that we are basically facing. So I will start with obviously the adoption problem. We want to ensure that the technology that we are building is basically available to everyone, right? So we have one of our co-founders, who is basically Wikram's brother. He's not able to make it today, but he would have told you his side of the story, why Hypersign was built. So basically, his father sent him 7 times a Facebook request. So he sends him a Facebook request, and then another time. So he calls up his dad and says, "Hey, why are you sending me 7 requests?" So his dad says, like, I cannot remember my password, and I don't know how to reset it.
It happens a lot of my friends.
Yeah, and he has to keep creating new accounts.
Always a new account, a new one, a new email, a new account, new email, new account.
Yeah, and it's easier to create apparently accounts on Facebook than it is to manage your own one. So it got us all thinking that, are we just building tech for crypto natives? Are we just building tech for people who understand the technology? Are we just building tech for the new generation who understands all this stuff? Tech should be for everyone. Security should be for everyone. Mm-hmm. So this basically transpires into the way we build it, how we simplify the process, how we make it accessible to everyone, that we make sure that we don't use usernames and passwords anymore. Usernames and passwords, they are basically a problem that is
2-week solution.
It's a huge. I mean, you Google it, there's no end to it, right? So we basically swap that out with public key infrastructure. So we use public and private keys. The way we access applications is through scanning QR codes now. It's no more typing, no more voice, nothing. It's even biometrics has problems. So scan a QR code and you're logged in. So from a usability perspective, I solve that. Commercial problems, of course, that the blockchain and the decentralized business is completely different from the traditional forms of business, where you have to get a purchase order and then receive the money in the bank, and in crypto no one cares about money, right? They're like, look, just I want to increase my token value, I'll put my money in the liquidity pool, just buy my token, put my liquidity pool, you use it for as long as you want, remove the tokens, and then thank you, bye bye. So the whole way of, so we want to ensure that, and because we're in the security authentication verification space, we want to ensure that we are providing this tech for businesses. So we also want to ensure that these guys are able to access this kind of technology without the hurdles of because you cannot go and explain to a very traditional procurement manager that now you have to go and buy my token. He's gonna be like, man, go to hell.
Yeah, of course you can.
He's not going to entertain that. So we're accepting purchase orders. We will basically manage the crypto side of things and basically take over all the operations. So that's one problem we're solving. And of course, at the end of the day, you have all the security problems.
Yeah, in this case, I think some kind of bridge which simplifies the entrance for newcomers is a must.
Yeah. So everything from solving the problem for the enterprise, solving the problem for users, and of course solving the security problems that are involved. So how do you manage the public and private keys? How do you ensure that they are kept safely? There are quite a few parameters involved with the smart contracts, with accessibility problems. So we've spent a lot of time building and thinking about each of these aspects while building Hypersign.
And how do you think you will improve everyone's life with this project, Irfan?
Okay, how we envision, or at least personally how I envision Hypersign, right, is if all goes well, maybe in 5 to 7 years. Imagine if you had to move to a new country, right? Yeah. Imagine if you had to if you were going to a new place, you would first have to go to the bank, maybe open a bank account. You would have to go and find a house to live in. You would have to go and maybe buy a car. You would have to go and go to the water department, electricity department. There's so many things you have to do, right?
Yeah.
And when you do all of these things, you have to give your personal information every single place, right? So you have to give the same information, the same phone number, stand in line, KYC, blah, 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 answer this question, answer that question. And once you have done all of that, and maybe let's say you've opened your account, maybe you've closed it now, and you go to those guys and say, hey, I've finished my relationship with you. Can I get my information back? How do you do that? You cannot do that.
You can.
So you cannot do that. That concept is just not there. You cannot.
Exactly.
So what typically happens is that information stores in databases, and it goes bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the hackers look at it, they're like, hey, there's a ton of data here. Let's just hack it. It becomes data breach. And you have data breaches happening everywhere, like Equifax, sorry. And you have, anyway, there are so many data breaches happening, right? So how we envision this is that, and this is obviously based on self-sovereign identity standards. So if you look at the Data Foundation, W3 standards, they're all now talking about self-sovereign identity.
Yeah.
So how we look at it is that you would register yourself once with Hypersign. All your data is encrypted with your private key, and it remains with you. And when someone, an organization or a person or a company or the government or a bank or whatever wants to access that information, to be able to get that access to the data. And when that relationship is over, you can always terminate that session saying, guys, okay, it's enough. Now I am canceling my data. So when you update your data, it's present, it's there, whoever needs to access it. Same thing goes for Amazon or for any e-commerce website. They don't have to store your home information all the time. They can ask you on the day your box is being delivered, hey, Daniel, where can I deliver your box today? Please give me an address. Those sort of things. Yeah. So that's how we envision. At the same time, not only for users, we want to make sure that everything from IoT devices to connected cars to decentralized applications to DAOs, they're all basically identities, right? So they should all be able to connect with each other seamlessly, securely on the Hypersign network.
Yeah. Very cool.
Actually, adding on to Irfan and more from the DeFi side, if you see the current user journey in DeFi, it is actually pretty seamless in a way. For example, you have a token, you trade it on Uniswap, then you want to trade it on a PancakeSwap. All you have to do is use Binance Bridge or any of the existing any of the project bridges, move it to PancakeSwap, and then trade. But imagine when the governments and all the regulation is going to come in, how do you ensure that people actually do KYC before making the large volume trades?
Yes.
If that happens, then every project will start asking you do KYC. Like each DEX would ask you do KYC separately, which means you would end up in a user journey same as how currently the centralized exchanges have. Like each exchange would ask you to make a different KYC, do KYC, and then you would give your data to XYZ different exchanges. They store the data, they manage it. So same problem would come again, even though it looks very simple, because just with public key, you are never be able to know who this user is. You need more property from the user. So how, in a very simple way, how we imagine is that you would come on board to Hypersign wallet, you will do your KYC. Now, every partner DEX that that have integrated with us, their smart contract would be able to verify your KYC credential using Hypersign's protocol. So, for example, I will go to Uniswap. I will try to trade, let's say, $10 worth of some tokens, Ethereum. Uniswap would allow you, but if you try to trade $2,000 worth of or $5,000 worth of Ethereum token, Uniswap would say, hey, you need to finish the KYC, and without KYC you can't do that. So how do you do that? There is a pop-up in the wallet. This pop-up might come in the any of these existing wallets. Like for example, for Ethereum, we will have MetaMask, and MetaMask would be integrated with HID Hypersign's API. So MetaMask would pop you up that, hey, please finish your hard KYC. You do the KYC, you get your verifiable credential. That verifiable credential is submit to the the DEX smart contract. Now that DEX smart contract would be able to verify this using Hypersign protocol. This is like the one flow. And the second, when you want to trade it on PancakeSwap, the same can be done, and you don't need to redo the KYC. All you have to do is authorize to PancakeSwap. So we are trying to keep the user experience as seamless as possible. Even when DEXs start asking you to do KYC or authenticate with more information than just the public key of your wallet. So that's on the DeFi side, how you can relate Hypersign with.
Yeah, very, very nice. And because we are going also in this regulation stuff, so this is something really, really cool.
Especially in Europe now, and EU has clearly said that they will not allow any more anonymous wallets. They are not supporting this.
Yeah.
And with our protocol, it is so easy to integrate any off-chain your credentials, like off-chain value of data. For example, you have a credit card and you have a score of using credit card. Any DEX or any decentralized application wants to verify that. Using Hypersign protocol, they can associate that data from the specific provider, and then that can be produced as a verifiable credential to the smart contracts. So even as I told you, initial idea was how to bridge Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 user journey together. Yeah. Hypersign can do that actually, and we are building very small use cases by taking part in some hackathons, and slowly you would see those use cases come out in production.
Very, very cool. Amazing.
Thank you.
I'm pretty shocked because this is something we all need it in near future also. Very good.
Yeah, so idea is that just get Web 2.0 website, integrate passwordless authentication, and then from there take them to the journey of how they can get their systems slowly decentralized to Web 3.0.
So this is a very important point that Wikram is talking about essentially, and I think we should spend some time talking about it, right? So if you talk about self-sovereign identity, there are many companies that are involved in this, right? And they have been in since 2017, but the fact of the matter is that you are building all this crazy tech for self-sovereign identity, but who's going to buy it? You know what I mean? Not every country is Switzerland and Estonia and South Korea and even if they buy, they will buy maybe from one company. You know what I mean? But there are so many companies doing it.
Of course.
So how do you sell this technology? How can you start getting revenue? How can you start becoming independent company, right?
Yeah.
And this is where most of our thought has gone, that we need to start selling this technology, but from a very grassroots, from a very low level, solving real world problems. And the best problem to solve in this space is the password problem. So the point to understand here is that if you want to decentralize the whole identity, you can start by decentralizing the authentication mechanism. The password is an extension of your identity. The username is an aspect of your digital identity. So if you can start by decentralizing the password, the authentication mechanism, you can then start decentralizing others, because when you register on a website, you first create a username, password, and then you add more information. So phone number, maybe a photograph, maybe a family name, whatever. So the decentralization should follow in the same process. So you first decentralize the username, the password, and then you can say, hey guys, your password is decentralized. Now we can start decentralizing your other information as well.
Yeah. Yes. So how are you people also describing your product? Currently, what's the community saying about?
I think Wikram is the best person to answer that.
Yeah, so Astropark, honestly, if you go to our community in Telegram or Twitter, whoever we meet, like hardcore DeFi guys, or who are just from the Web 2.0, somehow they both feel connected to Hypersign. They feel that it is something that is solving for their daily use, and they don't see it as some sci-fi tool which they have, they will use in future, and it has no value right now. So honestly, it is definitely having positive feedback so far. Everybody who is working we met some initial community members. Now they are so dedicated just because of the fact that they are adding value to community by doing small things, by stopping somebody to not misuse the data, even though it is just one website or one web application that is integrating Hypersign. They all jump into that. They support that project. Like for example, recently we got one partner. It's an IDEO platform. We saw such a good response from our community members. They went to their community. They explained them. They helped their users to come on board and try the product. We from our side, we are doing so less, and we are getting such a good response from our community. So really good, positive so far.
Really good. Nice community. Really nice.
Thank you.
And with companies gathering more and more infos on their users, how do you see the future? Good or bad? Who want to answer this question?
Yeah, I can definitely give my views on this. I think we discussed this earlier also. So there are multiple ways to look at this, right? So first, of course, it's the personal, like, so from a user perspective, right?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable giving away all kinds of your personal information? You might be comfortable giving away your phone number, but you're not comfortable giving away your blood type, depending. The doctor could ask you for some information, but your bank could ask you for some information. Information is contextual. There are different. It depends in which context you want to provide which information. That is one.
Yeah.
The other side is, of course, you have a problem with the governments. The governments want to ensure that all the data now, the regulation, it has to be within the country or within the region. EU, as you know, you have to keep the data inside the country. And every government, of course, has their own way of basically managing and treating that data. Every organization has their own way of treating and managing that data. And then, of course, you have the side where you have the hackers and you have the security problems and the ransomware and the data breaches and the data leaks and all the SolarWinds type attacks that are happening. So how do you address something that is so complex, that has so many different facets to it, that has so many different ways to basically address the problem? There are so many different parts of that data. And I personally believe that right now we are still far away from there's like you not have that one big solution, because each government, as I said before, have their own way, each organization, each human being has a different way. But what I have seen, and this is coming in a very powerful way. I mean, India is implementing this. I know Europe is implementing this. The whole idea of consent-based data management, right? So we're not talking about the transactional data, right? So if we take, for instance, an e-commerce site, right? So we are not touching how many times a certain product was bought, right? We are only addressing the problem of who bought that item how many times, right? So that is the question we want to address, right? So and we also understand that that data is oil for the organizations and they need to protect it. So it's a very sensitive area. It's a very sensitive topic. Governments have problems with it. Humans have problems with it. Organizations have problems with it. And data is the next oil, right? So how do you address this? So I believe the answer basically lies in, of course, self-sovereign identity, but of course, the technology which is known as the decentralized identifiers, DIDs. I think Wikram will be able to talk more about this. But I see a future in this that allows basically the way how governments as well as organizations to continue doing what they're doing with data, but without interrupting the privacy. This is so important to understand, right? So if Nike is, let's say, spending $1 million on reaching out to people who are basically saying, I need to address my market for people who run and live in the city, for example. I want to address city runners. So in the future, when you have all these privacy problems, when you have all these data problems, when you have, how can Nike still carry on their business, right? How can they do that? And I think the answer lies with the ideas where, by the use of decentralized identifiers, okay, you don't have to give out the personal information of the specific target audience, but at the same time, enable companies like Nike or Reebok to be able to reach out to these guys and still say, hey, you know, I'm selling this new shoe. Are you interested? And it will reach that target audience. I will let Wikram explain how the DID actually works.
Yeah.
But I think this is the future where the whole concept of phone numbers will disappear, email addresses will disappear, chat programs will disappear, everything will go peer-to-peer. I will be able to call people without the need for a phone number, without the need for a chat app. Marketing companies will be able to continue the marketing. Governments will be able to ensure that their data remains within the country and within the region. And all thanks to decentralized identifiers, which Hypersign is currently building on. Wikram, you want to explain more?
No, I think you already touched all the points there. I think otherwise it will become too technical, so it's okay.
Maybe you just want to touch on the topic, because I think it's a very interesting topic and I think people should know about it.
Very interesting.
Because, you know, see, at the end of the day, DeFi had its hype, NFT has its hype, and I think we should stress more on DID because this is the next wave of decentralization.
Yeah, so in shortest, you know, the basic idea of what DID, according to me, provides is that you can associate multiple public keys to DID, and each public keys can be used for specific applications. It can be, one DID could be used for, let's say, communication. Another DID could be used for authentication. Similarly, you know, different sort of applications can, one person can have multiple DIDs, or one person can have one DID which can have multiple public keys associated to that DID. So what it basically provides is a framework of associating multiple parameters of a user, like your user's identity and its multiple parameter, how it can be chained into one credential, and then it can be used to authenticate you or validate you in different applications. So those applications need not have to have all the data that belongs to you, like all your identity parameters. Only the specific identity parameter they would need. For example, if they need your, very simple example is, if they need your date of birth, then they don't need to know exact date of birth, right? They can just know how old are you, like are you greater than 18 years or not. So So these are the some technical things that DID definitely helps in solving. Apart from this, the use case could be implemented in file sharing, like Irfan said, push notification, on-chain push notification can happen using via DIDs. So almost like all user needs is a client. That client, on that client, he can listen to a push notification sent to him. It can be a phone call, it can be a message, it can be anything, just a company notifying users. So we can still reach out to people, and companies can still reach out to users, and without knowing who this user is and his data, where he lives, and still able to communicate with them. And for users, it's adding pseudo privacy, that he's able to get away with whatever he is doing currently, but without letting go of his personal data. Actually, it is much complex than if you actually want to implement it in full scale. So I feel that each company like us must be working in one specific small domain. For example, we took passwordless authentication and some simple use case, just for example, sharing, file sharing and things like that. Similarly, other projects are working on slightly complex things. So, but all of us are, relying on this self-sovereign identity standard. And now we are around 400 to 500 companies across the world that have accepted. This standard is accepted in the World Web WWW Foundation as a draft right now, and soon hopefully going to get accepted as a main protocol. So I see that overall, it's growing fast, and this is the right time for people who are interested into working in identity space or in general in this space can choose their specific likeness. Like for example, in this use cases, we have shown a couple of different use cases. They can just choose that and get involved with working around DIDs, and it's so unique and it's so fun to be working in this space.
And what's your strategy for the onboarding IDPs would generate revenue from user tracking? Will there be any incentives to entice them into adopting an anonymous blockchain-based verification model like Hypersign?
Yeah. Good question, Astropark. Actually, this is where our team is slightly different to if you talk to any other companies who are working in DID. Why? Because we are thinking from the ground level. We are not thinking in the sci-fi level that I will build the DID infrastructure and I will expect companies to come and use my API. No, this is not how we are thinking. How we are thinking is that what are the tools that could essentially use DID, provide them certain SDKs, and today they are using it without DIDs. Tomorrow they are already onboarded on DID. For example, community management in blockchain ecosystem is a big task. Ask any company, blockchain companies. All of these guys, they are either using Google Form to so right, like every company, every blockchain company will have their own community supporters. They do some task and they get rewarded. It is very simple use case. Like people think that it is not worth to work on that, but there are people are either doing it manually, or there are tools that are using those tools, they are managing it. So basically they will have used Google Form to fill their forms, and every time they verify them manually. There are some companies who have built this sort of tool, like they provide that tool to different community managers, and they can manage their ecosystem. What we did is convince one of these companies to integrate Hypersign protocol, and we have integrated inside them, starting from just passwordless authentication, and then going to all the level wherein whenever any community community member provides his information, like, hey, I have done this task, he can have a proof of that task in his Hypersign wallet, and he can claim to the community managers that, hey, I actually did this task, but how come you are saying that no, I did not do this task?
Yes.
Very simple use case, and people would think this is waste of time doing that. They would go something like in a banking application where you need to prove to government or law authority that this form was filled by me. No, we will never get acceptance there. What I feel is that we need to get small lower level applications like these to be implemented so that you can have the volume of the DIDs that you want. So next time, this is just one example. The second example that we implemented is, people use Gleam for doing their campaigns. Like for example, you would see IDO platforms using Gleam sort of tool to do giveaways. Like every day, every time a new project comes to do their launch, they would basically do a giveaway to get more community members, and they use Gleam there. What we did is build a basically copy of Gleam, but it is on DID infrastructure. And now we are approaching customers to use that because we provide all the same facility that Gleam would provide you, but with more privacy for users and easier integration. Like more, it is being designed for blockchain community. So they feel more connected to that platform, that they are solving their problem. So you see, I gave you two examples, which you see every day being used among all these blockchain companies. And they don't even realize that they have onboarded themselves in something self-sovereign identity, because we don't want them to know. What we want them to do is do their usual task, and they are onboarded to a self-sovereign identity platform. And I think Hypersign would excel in that way, because once we have 4 or 5 of these use cases working full-fledged on our system, then we launch our network and get them onboarded to the main network. So you have volume on the main network and transactions on the main network from the day one that it's launched. So just wanted to give you some perspective of that. And I think once enterprise see all these use cases working so smoothly, they will slowly move towards using it in their IAM system.
Yes, very, very, very interesting. So you are going really fast, guys. So last time I made the video, I'm seeing a lot of improvements and new features. Congrats, guys.
Oh, definitely. I think I'm not sleeping, and every day I do two things. Like I do one thing differently than any existing blockchain company. I write very less code, and I talk to more companies and more customers than writing the code. Like for example, last month we freeze the whole coding implementation, and now only I am doing is take this tool, make them use it in their community, or force them to at least do one campaign with their community so they can create campaigns and try to do that.
We're really pushing for that, forcing, bribing, everything, it's just use the
which is good.
My intention is to basically basic idea is that whenever you think of any tool that you are actually paying and using, you think have a second option that Hypersign guys are there, go back to them and at least give it a try next time. So that's the idea.
Yeah. And another question, identity confirmation needs to work at lightning speed with the other tech. So how will you address this on the Ethereum network?
Good question.
This is more
first thing is that
tech question.
Yeah. This is a great question, and that's where our architecture, I hope, would work smoothly. The point is that we are cross-chain, meaning that we are not launching the DID infrastructure on every chain. What we are launching is verification smart contract. Like for example, if you have a application that needs to verify verify a user, they need to make an entry into our smart contract, verification smart contract, and that would verify that on a layer 2 solution. And this layer 2 solution is basically our network, and it will have the TPS like any other layer 2 solution. It will have much more TPS, expecting the TPS to be around between 5,000 to 10,000 per second. So and layer 2s, I think the layer 2 next wave of DeFi or whatever you say, bull run is going to be for the layer 2s. and because a lot of real world use cases would have come on board to them. So short answer is that we are building a layer 2 solution which has much more higher TPS than Ethereum mainnet.
Yeah, great news. And do you have any interesting upcoming developments you think the community will love?
Oh yeah. So one of the thing that I told you that we built copy decentralized version of Gleam software, and we are going to launch that, announce it publicly in September, first week of September. It's I can tell the name now, at least. It's called Hyperfire. Basically something like this, decentralized version of Gleam, but Hyperfire, create your viral links and get viral using Hyperfire. This sort of punchline. So that is one product which I'm really looking forward to. And the second product that is not our product, but we integrated our APIs in them, is the community management tool. Mm-hmm. The best part is that they already have a lot of customer. They have 6 projects for whom they are managing this community, and we integrated our APIs in their platform. So they are going to get us a decent amount of outreach. Yes. The third one is that with one of our partners, they are a hardware VPN provider. We are working on some use cases to brainstorming currently. It's not yet clear what direction we would go. So basically integrating Hypersign's API in the hardware VPN and provide that as an authentication solution for exchanges. So the problem of us having the trust, like exchanges don't want to talk to us because we are too small or whatever, they don't trust us. But those companies have good rapport with the exchanges. So, and they are somehow convincing the exchanges. Internally, we would integrate Hypersign API in them. So these 3 products you might get to see up to MVP level in the next 2 months. Great. Apart from this, there are hackathons that we are taking part in. Yeah. Basically it's not very interesting maybe, but I would like to talk about it in the next calls whenever we have.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very, very nice. So a lot of news. Great. And well, a question which is really maybe unrelated to the project. So what do you like the most out of the crypto space? Yeah, just a general question.
I have my views on this. So I've basically so there is 2 ways of being. Actually, there are multiple ways of being in the crypto space, right? Yeah. One is you are buying crypto, you're holding or hodling, or you're trading. That is one way of being in the crypto space. The other way of being in the crypto space is basically actually being part of the ecosystem, creating products, solving problems, building the whole decentralized computing network, and actually being part of making history, right? And one thing that has completely blown my mind, and I've never experienced this anywhere else, is that we did our whole fundraise. I have been so I'm basically a startup founder, right? And so is Wikram, and a lot of startup founders will tell you this, that fundraising is very, very difficult. Generally speaking, it's very difficult, right?
Yeah.
And if you do manage to convince a VC, they have so many problems, they have so many questions, they have so many things, they have so many checks, they have so many verification, blah, 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 and so on. In the crypto space, we were able to raise funds and I did not even see their face. They don't even know my name properly. I don't even know their full name properly. You're taking someone's money, and you've not seen their face. You don't know their name. You're signing contracts worth millions of dollars, but you don't really know who the person is, right? So this just goes to show that the social structure and the obligations and all the processes and protocols and red tape and all the bureaucracy that the government have set is not really necessary. It's not necessary that I have to provide like thousands and thousands of pieces of information just to take a loan or just to get some money. Today, you can loan money like this with all the DeFi tools that are available. It's not very difficult. So I feel that the decentralized future is fantastic in the sense that there is so much freedom, but of course, with freedom comes certain dark side, everything is dark side. So this, for me personally, I think is very exciting. I hope it remains this way. I'm sure Vicky has his own opinion also on this.
Tell us, Wikram, what do you think?
My opinion is more towards product and community. So basically, I feel there is a lot of free space in crypto because the whole industry itself is new and experimental. So people are open to accept new products and new projects and new people. So that way, I really feel very comfortable in a way, like as a founder, implementing an idea and trying it out in masses, which I was not able to get there before. So I am excited about that. But on the other side, that this crypto community, it can become sometimes very hectic for people who can't handle this sort of pressure, because then you just don't have your product. You have your coin, which is not doing good. People talking about it, and then you also have to deliver the product. So on a founder's mental health, it becomes challenging.
Yeah.
So it has both side of good and bad.
Yes.
So that's how
pressure is pretty tough, I guess.
Yeah.
With the roadmap, so where's the problem? I totally understand. So this is something that usually it's hidden behind the scenes, and it's difficult to understand. It's also that side. Building a product is not a piece of cake.
And the other side is that it's important to understand that when you are launching a token, okay, on Uniswap or doing your IDO or IEO, whatever it is you're doing, we have to understand that this is similar to doing an IPO.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you look at the IPO culture, the only companies that are doing IPOs are unicorns and multi-billion-dollar organizations that have revenue, that have product market fit, that have thousands and thousands of customers, that have probably an employee base of maybe 1,000 employees. You have a very established operation, which is now basically going to float its shares on the stock market. But this is not the case in crypto. In crypto, you have nothing. You have maybe a white paper if you're lucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you are taking money and you are basically launching your coin, and then you have to base your performance on that. And Vicky is absolutely right. The pressure, the commitment to responsibility to show that you are not a scam, to stand out from the crowd, and plus you have all these meme coins. It's impossible to get attention from the kind of marketing these meme coins are doing, because all their attention is only on promoting the coin and not on building the product. So it's a huge challenge, like, for us.
Yeah, I know it's pretty challenging, guys. But also you are on Polkadot, I remember. So what are you doing also on Polkadot? Are you integrating something?
Yeah, so I mean, as I told you, previously we were. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So previously, as I told you, that the same question that you asked me about Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
The whole idea is that it's a layer 2 solution, and any chain can verify KYC data using our network.
Yeah.
As an oracle, or as a different ways that we will figure out the technicals. We will explain those technicals in the V2.0 of our white paper, and but that's what, like, the project can verify users KYC on any chain possible on Earth. It doesn't matter it's a Polkadot or it's a Ethereum. We saw that the Polkadot community was really accepting as a project identity project. So we took some help from them to really streamline. Like we learned other projects from other projects that launched on Polkadot, what are their roadmaps and how they are implementing DIDs. So that way, really good community overall. But definitely we are cross-chain. We can work in Polkadot or we can work on Ethereum. Any of these networks can work in with our infrastructure.
Okay, so I guess we reached the end of this Hey May Hey. So thank you guys for being so transparent also with the questions, for sharing your news, for sharing all your thinking. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Astropark. Appreciate it for your time and hosting us. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah, it's the same for me. Hi, Wikram. Yeah. So I guess we will have some other experience like this. And to the watcher of this video, thank you for watching till the end. I hope you like it. You can write your comments. You can follow the channel for more updates on this and more interviews like this. So thank you guys for your time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you.
Take care.